because I keep hearing about these lists, right?
Right, yeah.
Some people are like, have you made a list? Have you been praying over that list? It's like, oh, I want
Right, yeah.
to manifest.
So I remember me and my sister at the end of the list, because we were new Christians, we were like, he needs to be very rich. And then out of fear, we went and cancelled it.
I want to be the right person before I find the right person.
Yeah.
I think that would be my biggest encouragement, invest into your character and your personality like you would invest into anything else.
Yeah.
Finding the right person, like Alan said, is a myth altogether.
Right.
God has a great plan for you, but it's again your choice. He's given you a freedom of choice and a free will.
Right.
And this choice rests wholly just on you.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Renewing Hope podcast. I'm Prakriti Angelina, and today's episode is going to be a lot of fun and laughter, and also some great insight and wisdom from two amazing people. We have Alan and Vandana Ganta joining us for today. Anna, would you like to introduce yourselves, share a little bit about both of you?
Yeah. Hi, Prax, and thanks for inviting us onto this conversation, onto this show. Really excited. First thing and foremost, this is something that me and Vandana are doing it for the first time. So
Wow,
it's
so
special.
honored to
It's
have
special,
you.
and just doing this together is incredible. Well, to introduce myself, I am Alan Ganta, Pastor Alan Ganta, if you want to call that, because I'm in a role at a church called Hope You See. It's a global church, and I'm executive worship pastor at for India, and then we oversee all of the campuses here. And apart from being that, I'm involved in a lot of other things. I'm part of another ministry called Nations of Worship. Obviously, I'm a huge part of everything that Bridge does. And then the most exciting thing about what I'm doing right now, that I have the opportunity of being part of the new songs of India.
Yeah.
That I get to be part of everything that everybody is doing.
Yes.
And then so exciting just to being there, and then seeing and releasing the song of India, and seeing it impact the church and impact our nation. So yes, I love what I'm doing, and I'm super excited about it. And this is my wife Vandana, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, Prakriti.
Hi,
So good to
Anna.
be here with you.
So nice
doing
to have
this.
you on this episode.
It's really exciting. As you know, I'm mother of two boys, Ryan and Asher.
Yeah.
And it's been quite a journey to be with Alan, in what he does.
Yeah.
And personally, I have just finished my master's in special education.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward what I have to offer, to all the families with special needs children, and also what I can do best, to create awareness
That's amazing.
in the society. Yeah.
Wow, that's so good.
Yes, we definitely have two boys, very vibrant, highly energetic. So that keeps us going.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's great,
We're so
yeah.
happy to have you both on this episode.
Thank
Anna,
you.
you've, your work, all the things that you have done, it's paved the way so much for, the worship scene right now, everything that's happening. And, I've gotten to travel and minister alongside. It's been such a blessing. And Akka, just to even know that you've been pursuing this direction in the recent years, right? At this phase of life, not everybody would take that step, but it's something that only you can do when you're passionate about it. And so we're really happy to have you on this particular episode to talk about, family, marriage, dating, singleness, and all of these fun topics. So, before we get started on the intense, heavy conversations, let's do something fun.
Great.
Do you want to tell the audience how long you've been married for at this point?
16 years?
Yeah. This
Did you get it
year,
right?
I think, yeah, I hope.
this December, yes, we are on the 16th year.
Okay.
16th
Wow.
anniversary. So
That's incredible. Wow.
It doesn't feel that long, actually, to be honest.
That's so sweet. That's how it is when you're in love.
it's a great journey, though. Really
Yeah.
great journey. I think lots to learn from. It's good. Right.
So,
okay.
are you ready for some questions?
Okay, let's see how this goes. Okay.
Okay, so, let's I'm just gonna ask who is most likely to, or who's first.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. You have to point to yourself or to the other person.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So who expressed interest first? Okay. Who said "I love you" first? Okay. Nice. Who is the first to apologize after a fight? Okay. Nice.
Definitely.
Okay. Who is the organized one? Oh, interesting. Interesting.
That is so classic. I can't believe it.
Okay. Okay. Who is the most likely to start a serious conversation? Okay.
Always. Yeah.
Who is the fun parent? Yeah. Also. Okay. I know this, but I'm gonna ask this. Who is the bigger sweet tooth? Okay. Who is the one who cleans up after a party?
It's always me.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Who is the most likely to end a fight? Okay. Okay. Who is the better cook? Okay, that's awesome. My
Goes without saying for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I always say when people ask me, "No, no, Alan, do you know cooking?" I said, "Yes, I know how to cooking." I said, "What do you cook?" I cook stories. You know, I can cook up all of those things other than
and
food.
lyrics for songs.
I actually can.
Okay, who cries during sad scenes in movies? Okay.
It's me.
Yeah, I think yeah does, but I find myself crying a lot of these movie scenes. You know, I
Nice.
think it's quite emotional.
good
I
to know.
really and I think it's really good.
Songwriters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't help. No, we have to engage in the emotion. You know, then we cannot be
Right.
away from that. Okay, that's
Who is
good.
the planner on a vacation? Okay.
Yes. I think
Right.
after we get the I plan,
Who decides?
But at least-
Who decides where you go on vacation?
I think it's a mutual.
I think that's kind of a
yeah.
mutual thing. You
Nice.
know, just so they know that what we are comfortable with. Yeah.
Okay. Who likes to travel more?
I think he has no choice but to travel a lot.
Yeah, but I do like traveling.
Yeah,
You know, I do travel a lot. Yeah.
Right. Who's the funny one between both of you?
I think it's
Definitely she. I
that's so
think no, she's she's really good.
That's so sweet. Who is the best dressed out of both of you, usually?
Oh,
That's true.
all the time. Yeah,
That's
I
true.
think she's
That's true.
she's very particular. In
and
what,
this we don't have any doubt about, but we're going to ask anyway. Who loves coffee more?
has to be.
I know
Alan.
definitely. I'm such a
Yeah,
coffee
Awesome.
drinker. Yeah, that's so
Awesome.
good. Yeah, that's fun.
So, we wanted to talk today about something that is really central to all our lives. We can't escape it. It's the topic of relationships, and mental health in our relationships becomes something that we don't really think about actively, but it can play such a huge part of our day-to-day lives. There's always
Yeah.
something going on in our friendships, in our marriage, with your kids, and being tuned into what really you're feeling or how you're doing is really important.
Right. Yeah.
So today we just want to take that time to talk about issues that we might face in whether it's dating or in our marriage and all of these different topics. So let's get started. We would love to hear about your journey. How was it for you when you first met? Would you like to share about that season of your life?
Awesome. All right, I'll start first. I think we both met at church, like all good Christians do. I think we both were attending the same youth group,
Okay.
at the AG Church, Youth Alive. I was part of doing a lot of things in there, and then as part of that, and she was. She came. She, let us share her story, but she came to the thing. We met first because we were friends. Both our best friends. Where
They were friends.
They
with
were
each other.
friends. They were friends. So that's how we got introduced, and then we got to hang out together a lot, and then obviously eventually it led us into time of just quoting and praying about each other, and then So that was an interesting journey about how we found we found each other.
How long was this courting period for? Like, was it a few years?
It was for a few years actually. Since the time that we met, it was almost 7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Close to 7 years since
Okay.
we made the big step of
Wow,
okay,
okay.
I think this should lead us into the marriage and the wedding. So yeah, so it was a long one, a long process. And it was an interesting one. We had to go through a whole journey and then of understanding each other's personalities and knowing each other. We came from completely two different backgrounds.
Wow, okay.
Because I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and she comes from a completely different background. So it was a long journey. It was definitely a long journey, and I'd say it was a very interesting journey. It wasn't
Right.
like bang on. We wanted to. It was because both of us were, you know, emotionally and spiritually also developing. In those years. Growing personally for me also, I was growing emotionally.
The formative years.
Formative years of especially in turn back, 15 years ago, it was a different world,
Yeah,
different way,
That's true.
and the way right now the generation is growing in terms of their emotional and intelligence and just anything about life.
More awareness.
Yes, more awareness. That was lacking a little bit. Definitely, I felt it was a little slower in comparison. At that time, it didn't feel like we were slow. We were probably a bit more aggressive, and also.
I mean, during that time, dating was not such a common thing, also, right? Like in
Yes.
the church.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
how did that happen, and whose decision was that, or like how did that play out?
Interesting. So good brought that point because especially when I was growing up in the church, the especially when your youth camps and all, that's when we start talking about all of these relationships, and then it was a very different time at that time when most of the pastors and people who are talking about relationship, they would always talk about. There is always this one right person in your life, and
Waiting
you need
for the one.
you have to wait for that one kind of teaching was happening,
Right.
and that God had only this one person, and that He's like He put you on this and then He put you on this treasure hunt to go and find, without any other.
Such a nice concept, no? Like,
Yeah, it
feels
was.
good to believe it.
It feels like,
yeah.
and then it
It's
used
very
to.
romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
to
it
think.
was like, wow, okay, there is always, the good part, the only good part about that there is this confidence, okay, there is at least this one person.
Correct.
They're
I'm not gonna die alone.
Right, yeah, I'm not going to die alone. Okay, God had this plan about this one person that I need to find it in my life, So you're on this treasure hunt, okay, like
Right.
to find this. And
Right.
then, an interesting thing that when I thought about all of that, at my time, I was always in fear. I was always in fear because if I find somebody and I like somebody, there is always this fear in the back of my mind. Okay, is she the one? Will she be the one? And am I making
Oh,
a
that's a
big
good
mistake
one.
of?
That's a good
Am
point.
I making a big mistake of my life? And especially, I was already, doing some kind of a public ministry. I was always leading worship in conferences and all of that. The fear was greater.
Yeah.
And then instead of not being, don't mean to say being adventurous, but being,
Right.
and stepping out and then really actually pursuing someone, I was always holding back, in terms of, okay, will it turn bad,
Yeah,
Am I going to be?
that's such a brilliant point because something revolutionary even in our faith is we say you can either choose out of love or you can choose out of fear. Everything that we do,
Right.
you can make that decision from a place of fear or from a place of love. And it's so interesting that whole concept, right, of, oh my gosh, it's such a big decision in your life.
Right, yeah,
One
yeah.
of the biggest. And it can be so pressurizing when you're thinking, oh, there is that only one person that I'm supposed to be with. And is this the one? Is this the one? Is it not? And, I mean, even personally for me in my younger years, it's been very challenging.
In younger years of what's happening right now, where are you? Are you in fear or are you in
Now,
in love?
now I think I've understood that, there's no perfect person like
Right,
that, right?
yeah.
Like, and of course, God has a plan for our lives. I do believe God sees so much more than we see.
Right,
He has
yeah.
a plan for our lives, but I don't think that decision has to be driven from that place of extreme, like,
Yes.
I might miss this, I might go wrong, because God directs our steps so
Right, yeah,
beautifully,
yeah.
right? So, yeah.
So yeah, most of the time, even when we were, even when we were expressing our
Yeah.
feelings to each other, we always felt like there was this fear behind. I hope we are not crossing our borders. I hope we are not doing something that is against the will of God. And because there was always this teaching
Yes.
about if you are against the will of God, your life is ruined.
Correct.
There is always there somehow. I'm sure the church intended it for good.
Correct.
But for me personally, it brought lots of fear in my life. And I bet all my friends, everybody that we were all growing up together, we all went through that same journey, and it took us a while. Definitely there was this learning, unlearning certain things too.
Right.
Not only just that, I think we had this period of even for both of us, we had this unlearning had to be done in terms of just understanding
Okay.
the dynamics of the relationship and how it ends up. So that was the thing that was going on, and we were always, thankfully we have great friends and family who is always encouraging. We're praying for you.
That's a good
That was really important for us to have people in our lives. Even there was also in that time, it was such a, I don't know if I can say, a taboo that you would not tell. Even if you're interested in somebody, you won't be able
can't
to.
talk about
You
it.
can't talk about it. You can't talk about your close friends, neither to your family or anybody. But I felt, I felt at least, I had people in my life who actually can
Wow.
say, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking
That's
about
amazing.
her. And then it's nice to have somebody just to be with you and said, okay, if you're praying, then I'll pray with you
Right.
on this one. So that felt really good for us.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was
Yeah.
going for you
What
in
was-
your mind. Yeah.
What was happening for you?
I think coming from a different background of faith, for us, coming to church initially, that was my initial years. Me and my sister would go to
Right.
church, and then we used to attend all these workshops on dating. And
Oh, wow.
so
you
it's
had
very
workshops
interesting.
back then?
Yes,
That's
we
amazing.
had sessions, one of the youth camps about
So good.
dating.
Right.
But it was good, it was helpful, but the other side of it was, finding the right will of God, and you have to be in the will, that fear. And, they even made us do, write a list of what all you want in your husband. So,
Right, right.
me and my
You
sister
have your
wrote
shopping
down
list.
that,
The list.
so, how that person should
Girls
be.
need a shopping list, don't they?
But then growing, we realized that that's not how it's going to happen, and finding the right person, like Alan said, is a myth altogether. God has a great plan for you, but it's again your choice. He's given you a freedom of choice and a free will,
Right.
and this choice rests wholly just on you. Not even
Right.
in your parents and a society, nobody. It's just
Yeah.
your own choice, and with that choice comes responsibility.
Right.
Choosing that person. So I feel that like the proverb says, choose your friends wisely.
Yeah.
And how much more do
Yeah.
we need to choose our
A life companion.
life
right?
companion?
Companion,
And
yeah,
that responsibility is totally on us.
Yeah. That's
Right,
such
yeah,
a
yeah.
that's such a great point, right? Like that's the crux of this whole conversation, because
Right, yeah.
when you realize that it's a choice, then that ownership also comes on you, that okay, like this is what I'm choosing to
Yes.
go forward with, and it is up to me to make it work, to give my
Right.
best to this relationship, instead of being like, oh, this was not God's will, so
Yes.
now we'll just give
Yeah.
up on it, or that's such an easy way out. And I
Right.
really believe, like in all our life's decisions, as much as God has a plan for us, He invites us into this partnership, right?
Yes.
Like
A
of
choice.
making
Yeah.
these decisions, whether
Yes.
it's your career, whether it's the
Yes.
ministry, and especially with marriage as well. So that's a brilliant point, because I keep hearing about these lists, right?
Right, yeah.
Some people are like, "Have you made a list? Have you been praying over that list?" It's like, "Oh, I want
Right, yeah.
to manifest."
So I remember me and my sister at the end of the list, because we were new Christians, we were like, he needs to be very rich. And then out of fear, we went and cancelled it.
What if he's rich?
Because that's not, that's not very Christian of you to hope and believe
So,
for riches, more riches.
So
Yeah.
I think over the years, this whole concept of dating and has changed. And now I feel, people have more choice, because you're traveling, you're meeting new people. In those days, the world was a bit smaller.
True, yeah.
And we
Right.
had
Your,
our own
your,
circles.
your youth group is the only
Yes.
only pond you can go and fish.
But it's making it harder also, I feel like, for some people. I mean, they're
Right,
not able
true.
to choose. They're like, oh, there might
There's
be
too much
someone
to-
better,
Too much,
there might be
yes.
someone
Yeah,
good.
yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that in that journey, I'm sure most people would end up doing is you get into this time of fasting and praying. Okay. For your life partner, most people would do. So I did that.
Right.
I did that too. I mean, like I took a couple of days off. I actually went for a serious
That's great.
40-day fasting
okay.
and praying and then seeking God's heart, because that's what you want to do and that's what you want to do. You don't want to make this biggest decision of your life and then later on regret and not pray about it. So I did that. I did that, and then very interesting. I was praying, and something out of the world happened. Actually, not in the, out of the world, I would say, but I've heard so many people tell stories about that God telling you, that God showing them and saying, this
Right.
is the girl that you will marry. And
Right.
then, a lot of people were telling us stories like that, and then that was, and we were logged into that.
Right.
That we are thinking if God told them, then God's going to tell me to, God's going to show me, okay, this is the girl.
Correct.
The spotlight's going to fall on, when you are.
You'll just know when you know.
Yeah, you just know
You'll
it. That's right. So I was waiting for that moment,
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if they are very sure that God is going to tell you, and then in those 40, in that time of period, I didn't see that. I didn't experience that. So I was almost disappointed. I was like, God, I mean, if you spoke to them like this, why are you not talking to me?
Yeah.
And very clearly, I came out of that prayer time when, God speaking to me and saying, if you trust me, Alan, I trust you.
Wow.
If you put your trust in me, then I will put my trust, and then whatever you choose and you commit your life to, I will bless it.
Wow.
But it was almost God challenging me. He said, I want you to make the choice. I want you to decide, and I want you to commit your life to it. And if you stay committed and if you stay in it, my blessing will always be with you.
Wow.
So that was revolutionary for me. I didn't hear, because I didn't hear that kind of wisdom or that kind of an encouragement from any of the other pastors.
Right.
So, but I still wasn't really sure. Okay, God, is it me?
Right.
Am I thinking about this?
Yeah.
Am I making it up? So I reached out to one of my mentor, and I said, I just done this. I'm a little disappointed. I don't know where it's going to lead. I'm sensing this.
There was no verse.
There was no
vision.
there was no vision. There was no like so I don't know what to do. You know what, my mentor said exactly the same thing. Alan, if you choose and if you commit, I think God's blessing will be upon it. And he confirmed what God was speaking to me. So it was almost I'm taking a risk at that minute, because I wasn't hearing a lot of people tell me that, but I had this very strong feeling in my inner spirit, and my only encouragement that my mentor said exactly the same thing to me. So I stepped in and I said, I commit, and I said, God, okay, I'm going to make a choice then. Because by the time, I knew her enough. I knew her enough to know her values. I knew her enough to know what the stand that she takes. And then said, God, okay, I'm not sure, but I'm committing.
Wow.
I'm committing right now, and I need your blessing on this. And then,
That's so powerful.
And yeah.
I just want to talk about this for a bit, because for so many young people, this process is one of the hardest, right? Like you said, because of church culture, because of the way we perceive this is the perfect will of God, and I need to be in the center of God's
will. I love that. Center of God's will was such a huge thing.
One auntie in my church, I remember, she's like, we have to be so careful. If little bit like this, we might fall off into hell.
Right. It's as like we're walking on the thin line all the time. Yeah.
And this is what makes people, watch out also for these confirmations and signs. And then anything becomes a sign. Oh, he texted me at 111. It's a sign.
Oh,
This is the
dude,
one,
I'm telling you
and
that.
of course, like you said, Anna, like fasting and prayer, seeking the heart of God is so important during this process. because you are trying to tune yourself and your desires to what God is desiring for you as well, right? And at the same time, I love what God said to you, because even in all the decisions that we take in life, right?
Right.
Everyone has this tendency to get so caught up. I get this question a lot. Akka, how
Right.
do I know the will of God? What is the will of God for me? And even that comes with, like, for me, as I've grown in intimacy with the Lord, as
Yeah.
your thoughts and his thoughts become one, your desires and his desires become one,
Right. Yeah.
just knowing that the Lord trusts you, the Lord
Right.
has given you that empowerment and freedom, and he's such a good, perfect father, and he trusts
right,
you
yeah.
to
Yeah.
take decisions for your own life. He's not being a puppet master,
Yes.
like controlling everything.
Right. Yeah.
That's such a powerful thing about God, and I'm so glad that you shared that, because there's so much freedom in that.
Right, no. And also a lot of losing yourself too. I think, just taking, always we don't want to take the risk. Risk is not something that been
But
taught
love
to
is
us.
a risk.
Right,
Love
yeah,
is
that's
a
not
risk,
it's
right?
not been
Yeah.
taught to us to
Yeah,
take risk in
correct.
those
Yeah.
terms. Like we always don't want to take risk.
Yeah.
But I
Play it
think
safe,
I loved that journey where God challenged me
Yeah.
to step in, and even if it feels unknown, it feels like, I want to trust God in that,
Wow.
and then step into that, I
Yeah.
don't know what were you
What changed it for
challenging in
you, Akka? Like, what made the decision kind of evident for you?
I think, like I told you, that fear of being in God's will. And then when Alan told me that this is what God is speaking to, then I started taking ownership, and not that God is just leaving you in the open, it's at the edge of the cliff or something. He's
Correct.
guiding you. He guides you through the word or through they say that there's wisdom in counsel of many. So you
Right.
get counsel from your friends and your parents. So
Right.
God is guiding you through, your choice.
Yeah.
He's there with you throughout
Yeah.
that choice that you're making.
Correct.
So I think that was very evident for me. My parents supporting me in this, and our values matching.
Yeah, yeah.
The what is the in some of the principles that I look up to.
Yeah.
He also had. I think that's very important when you are getting married to a person.
That is so true. I mean, when I was younger, it was like, oh, I want someone who's a guitar player or a keyboard
Right,
player.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want
yeah.
to write
Most-
songs together. And I mean, it's a dream for all
Yes.
musical
Right,
people.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
like-
if I marry someone who's not musical, I'll be correcting their singing all the time. But I think as you grow and you understand, what really matters, it's the values, right? It's what you really align on and stand on, because
Yes.
things will get challenging.
Yes.
You will have
Right, yeah.
situations and
And this is on the lighter side. When I was dating Alan, there were so many girls after him, and want to. And I'm coming
anyone
from
with
this.
a guitar.
I'm coming from this background where we are like zero in
Right.
music, and we had like absolutely no idea. And people would come and say he is a good singer. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that aspect really
Correct.
didn't. I didn't get
Yeah.
know what I was getting into.
And that's
Like-
amazing for people who are on stage, right, Anna? Wouldn't you think that? Like, people who are always in that gift and operating in that scene
Yeah.
visibly before people, it's great to come home to someone who doesn't value you because of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a gift. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's such a gift that when you're home. Even now, even it's thanks Vandana. I think even the kids have that same attitude also.
Right.
They see all of that. And just when you're home, you're just you.
Yeah.
You're just you, and you don't
Yeah.
need you know you don't get that kind of an attention and adoration from
Yeah.
when you get an outside, but when you're home,
Yeah.
you're accepted just because of who you are.
Yeah.
Not because of your gift and not because of your talent and what you do, what you get to do outside. But
Yeah, because
just to be
a lot of people, they think, oh, I want to marry this worship leader or this pastor.
Right,
And then,
yeah.
I mean, they feel that they will be elevated to
all
another
throughout, yeah,
ministry
yeah.
status, right?
And
But,
that's so right. And
you're
also,
not marrying the gift or the anointing, right?
Right.
You're marrying the person.
I get a lot of questions as, does Alan sing to you, every day?
Really?
So
gosh.
things like that.
right, yeah,
So,
yeah. It was
people watching, you don't wake up to worship
right, yeah, yeah. Always.
playing the guitar. That's not how it works.
That's so right. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
true, and it's good. I think people also who are doing ministry like what we are doing, we need to understand that we are, that's not,
Yeah.
you know, that's
Not the
not
main-
something that we need to be all the time. You know,
Correct.
we are not worship leaders all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
we
it's
are-
great if you can do
Yes.
that, right? Like there's Jonathan and Melissa Helser, my dream couple.
Right, yeah. You know,
they're doing stuff
get
together
to
like
do
that.
ministry
But-
together, but that's not
Yeah,
always.
it's not everybody's,
Yeah, it's not
story.
everybody's gift,
Yeah.
and then it not doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And then, but even that, you know, I think we need to learn to balance our life. Like, you know, before you become worship leader, pastor, singer, anything, you are a husband, you are a father, and
That's
then
right.
we need to learn to value them first.
Yeah.
And everything, you know, and everything else, and then.
Right.
So that was a journey.
Yeah.
You know, that was a journey of coming to that understanding
Right.
of, you know, in our relationship. So,
Before we move on to like the next topic of maybe marriage, is there anything that you want to share to the singles out there who are waiting, praying, you know, struggling to find the one? You know, is there something from both of you? What would you like to tell them?
Yeah.
Tell
I
us.
would say date, don't wait.
Hashtag.
that's the hashtag. That's a
Hashtag
classic
wait,
one.
don't wait. Nice.
No, most of the time we're just in the waiting zone and we don't go and
And we waste
date.
so much of time.
Waste so much of time, you know.
Yeah.
There's this pastor who was giving an illustration that a car in a garage, you know, it's not going to lead you anywhere.
Correct.
You know,
have
a
to get
moving
started.
car is better than a parked car. So I
That's
think
a-
that
That's a-
that
there you go.
applies.
Yeah.
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 Get
Thanks.
moving, singles.
Right, get moving.
And I think dating now is more, it's become even more open and
Right.
important because you need to get to know that person well.
Right.
So, you know, start off being friends and then, you know, that friendship will lead you into marriage as well. And that friendship still is intact
Wow.
even after you get married. So I think
That's so
dating is important, is what I would say.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And like you said, friendship has to be the cement, right?
Yes.
That
Right,
binds you
yes.
together. It's not all about, you know, I mean, it's important to also have good boundaries
Yes.
in the dating and
Right.
courting process, right?
Definitely, I
The goal
think
is to-
date with friends.
Yeah, with friends around. That's
And when
that's
friends
important.
around
Yeah.
matters a lot. Invite people into your
Let people
dating.
know about
Yes,
it,
Yeah.
right?
yes. I think that's the taboo that we had to come out of, you know, to let people know that you are, you know, pursuing someone or interested in
Yeah.
someone. I think that's a really, really good thing.
Even for the church, it's important to
Yes.
understand that because if we stigmatize it, people are
Yes.
going to do it in secret
Yes.
anyway.
Right,
But
yeah.
it's safer
Yes.
and healthier
Yeah.
for everyone to date in community, right?
Right,
Like to
yeah.
know,
Yes.
Yeah.
for everybody to be in the know, for your pastors
Yeah.
and leaders to journey with you, for parents also.
Yeah, and whether it works out or not works out, you still have people around you.
You have that
who
support
will-
system.
You have a support system for that. Yeah.
Anything else you want to
Okay. I like the way, you know, in our conversation, Vandana brought up the verse from Proverbs. You know, it says
Right.
that righteous choose their friends wisely.
Yeah.
You know, if we have to choose our friends wisely, then how much more, you know, wisdom and direction we need for choosing, you know, choosing a life partner. And it always baffles me to if you want to become a engineer, you want to become a doctor, you invest about 15 years of your life studying to be that.
Yeah, that's true.
How much do we invest our time into becoming that right husband, to becoming that right father? You know, we don't see it like that. So for all of you out there, you know, if you are ready to spend 15 years of your life studying to become
Yeah.
what you want to be in as a career,
Yeah.
I would really encourage you to spend a little bit more time, invest into yourself. You know,
Right.
you need to sign up for courses if you need to.
Right.
You know, but invest. No, you're ready to pay 20-30 lakhs for your education. No,
That's
why
such a
not?
good
Why
package,
not you invest something into your own personal, which you will be for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know, you're going to be a, you know, if you want to be married, that means you want to be a good husband, you want to be a good wife, you know.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to invest into that, you know? So yes, take something, you know, with the resources that you have right now.
Yeah.
Man, that should be even more, you know.
Correct, yeah.
It's on your fingertips. You
Correct.
know? There's so much time you can
Yeah.
to
There's enough
invest.
podcasts and
enough
interviews
podcasts,
and-
enough
yeah.
material resources available. So I encourage you to please go ahead and then invest into yourself, you know. More than finding the right person, let's work on being the right person.
So good.
No, I think
Yeah.
that's really, really important. Yes, and I'm hoping that there are people like that who's thinking the same thing where I want to be the right person before I find the right person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think that would be my biggest encouragement. You know, invest into your character and your personality.
Yeah.
You know, like you would invest into anything else.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
You need that. You know, look out for that kind of resources and people and
Yeah.
wisdom. I think wisdom is such a, love is not the only thing that will keep your
Yeah, that's good.
relationships. You know, love is not the only thing. You can fall in love with anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you don't need a special person to fall in love. You know, you can watch a movie and fall in love. You can fall in love with a person in a romantic moment. You know, love is not the only thing. It's the godly wisdom that keeps you there. You know,
Yeah.
I think I want to challenge people to pursue wisdom.
That's so good.
Pursue wisdom and then make the choices not based on your feelings and
Yeah.
love. Yes, absolutely, love is important. You
Yeah.
know, that's really good, but it's the wisdom
Yeah, that's
that
really
I
good.
feel
That's so
we
good.
need right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just that thing about being the right person, right? Like, and investing in yourself and investing in order to be that gift to someone else.
Yeah.
You're going
So
to
right, yeah,
You need to
so
be that
right.
gift that keeps on giving, right? Like
Right,
the person in your
yeah,
life here. And I think just doing it for ourselves and also for that person that we're preparing for is beautiful. Like,
Right,
and
yeah.
God really honors that journey, right? And prepares you during that process. So I love that. Choose wisdom, ask for discernment,
Yep.
and take ownership for your choices.
So right, yeah, so right.
Prakriti, I want to ask you, how is it for you? I want to know from your side of the story as well. Like,
Yeah.
how is
Your
it?
journey of
Your
preparation.
journey.
If you are in there, I don't know if you want to disclose that a lot, but no, that's a great
How is
question,
it,
yeah.
be single and being in ministry? How do you,
How are you managing?
coping, and what questions do you get from people?
Oh yeah!
Support?
Oh my gosh. So I mean, we were talking about this also a little bit yesterday. So I expected to be married by maybe around 24, 25. I was like, so growing up, because of my family's history, I didn't believe in marriage. I was like, I don't believe in love and all of
Right,
that.
yeah.
But God had His process very early on for me in my late teens, like really healed me, showed me His perspective, right? Like His dream for marriage.
Yeah.
And so by 18, I was like, okay, God, anyone around? But I thought, like, for me, like, friendship matters a lot. Like, friendship first, right? Like, you build that bond. It's not just about, I mean, I don't understand how you can just meet someone and then commit the rest
Yes.
of your life. So I was like, okay, I was on the lookout. I was like, but I think it's been a process for me. It's been a wait also,
Yeah.
and the last few years have definitely been challenging, especially because your contemporaries are getting married and then they're moving on to the next phase, and then I think for me somewhere in my head, I don't know why, but it was like, before 30, I have to be married and I have to have at least one child, maybe. I don't know. It's like.
So
so
the
like-
family pressure. Yeah, and then the
Actually,
society pressure.
Yeah, I think it was society. So there was a season when I had just moved out of home. I was starting, this whole journey of faith. I was like, God, if you've called me,
Yeah.
because I had quit my job, I was trusting completely in the Lord,
Yeah.
for finances and provision. But I didn't want to depend on my mom, right? I didn't want to put that pressure on her. So I said, God, if you've called me, then I'm going to step out in faith and you're going to take care of me, because I don't want my mom to feel like she has to take care of me.
Yeah.
She's done that all her life, as a single mom.
But that's a great thing. That's something that we need to pause and
Yeah.
then even appreciate you for taking that step or being when you're in that part of your life to think about parents and then
Being
because most
financially
people sometimes
independent,
yeah.
we end up being in that zone. Hopefully that our parents are still supporting us
Yeah.
when we are already in that place where we should be supporting them. That's a great thing.
Yeah, and for me, it
So
was
appreciate
also,
that.
I think, coming from like a single parent home, there were these patterns and dysfunction. And I was like, okay, God, if you want to build something new through my life, through my family, I want to take some time to reset, to really
Right.
heal, to just even be alone, right? Like with your own thoughts. It's so important for that
Yes.
healing process because we tend to get really busy,
Yeah.
just doing a bunch of things. But it's been 2 very difficult years of healing. Healing doesn't always look like magic fairy
Right,
dust.
yeah.
It's like getting into those. But it's been totally worth it. I think just taking that time out. But so at that juncture, right, just when I had moved out and I was like starting to travel, I was doing this and that in ministry. I remember one of my leaders, he was like, "Oh, you're already 28. You need to get married. We'll get you married. We'll find someone for you." And
It's so easy for the pastor to say that. "Yeah, I'll find somebody for you."
I
Like,
don't even know how he knew my age. I'm just like standing there thinking, you know. And I mean, for me, since it's so relational, right? Like,
Right,
I was
yeah.
like, he doesn't even know my story. He doesn't know what God is doing in my life. So it really set me back. It started making me feel like no matter what I do, no matter how much I've achieved,
Yeah.
or you know how much progress I'm making, because for me, moving out was a
Yeah.
huge step. We were so close, like my mom, my sister, and I.
That's good,
So
yeah.
it was really hard, and I was like, no matter what I do, it's like I'm incomplete without being married. You know?
Being married.
So it's been a mix of both. Like of course I do want to get married, but I believe that God has His plan and story for each one of us. I remember God asking me. 29 was really difficult.
Right.
It was a
That
hard
was the year that
Before 30.
I know that feeling.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, you can
this
do
is
it.
the
You
year,
can
God.
do it,
It's
God.
like-
Like one more month. But I remember God telling me, "Did I tell you that you need to be married before 30?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, look around, look around at your generation. What am I doing in your times? And something that I have noticed is God has been intentional about taking us all back to our childhood wounds and our
Right.
inner struggles,
Yes.
and
That's
like
so
really
right.
help us sort that out
Right.
with His help. It's not easy, it's not so quick also,
Right,
but
yeah.
it's an important process to go on with God, I believe. And I'm seeing Him do that with, at least my generation. So that's been my
Nice.
I think that's so important to work on your baggages, right? Because you don't want to
Right.
carry that in your marriage.
Correct.
Right.
And most of us do, thinking the other person will make it up for that,
Yeah.
or will be
So right, yeah.
he will solve it or she will solve it for me.
Correct.
But you made
Such
that
an
important point.
unnecessary
Yeah,
burden, no, to put
unnecessary
on
burden.
someone.
Yeah.
And also that also comes from what we've been taught also that's like we are expect marriage is the answer for everything.
Yes.
Correct.
Our society tells us
That's
if he's a drunk, let's get him married. Life will change for him. He's got issues with anything else. Let's get
Yeah.
him married. So
That's true.
we all have been pushed into the commitment of marriage, expecting the other person will come and fix your life.
Yeah.
And not understanding the other person also has life. He's gone through some things. She has gone through some things, and then they get into a relationship unknowing, or not even understanding the baggage.
Yeah.
And they get into so many issues
Yeah.
later on in marriage. And then so it's so important for us, I think we need that. I mean, right now, a
Yeah.
lot of parents, even when we are saying we need that dating time,
Yeah.
still people might not be open for it, but we want to emphasize that understanding, knowing those baggages is
Yeah.
so important that you make, a choice. You
Yeah.
make a choice knowing, okay, that person is dealing with these
Yeah.
issues, and we need to learn to accommodate in our relationship
That's
and not expect that person, to be perfect.
Be your savior.
Right, to be your savior. Yes, you don't want them to be your savior, and also, you don't want to be their savior. You cannot
That's
be on.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
No,
that's a good
that's
one
a
for
good
women,
one.
right? You're
Yes.
like, I think
Right.
for me he will change.
Yes.
He will
Right,
become better.
So to knowing those hurts, I think we need to be vulnerable in those times, understanding what you're getting into. It matters that, I think that really matters. Another really important thing that you brought up is when our leaders, our pastors pair us up. That pressure is very different.
Yeah.
You want to say yes because your pastor told you to say that.
Yeah. Or you think it's from God.
It's
because
from,
your pastor
yes.
is saying it,
In-
right?
and then I've seen so many people who've been matched, or because of parents, and without their own personal investment into it,
True.
struggle so much later on in their life. And what worries me is they will always blame them.
Yeah.
They will never look at that they have an issue.
Yeah.
They'll never see the problem that they actually are,
Yeah.
but they will easily blame it on somebody and said, because the pastor told
Yeah.
me, because my father
Yeah.
told me, because my mother told me to do it, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Then if stepping into a relationship like that will never fix,
Yeah.
it needs to come from a deep sense of responsibility. Like, Vandana said, I think
Yeah.
that is a great place to start.
Yeah,
in
that's
a
so good.
relationship.
Yeah.
We need to prioritize as a family what works for you.
Yeah.
That constant, like Alan said, communication and there is a bit of sacrifice. Without that, it's
Yeah.
not going to work.
The Indian husband, cleaning diapers was something really, really big thing. And it's like, I wasn't really ready for it. It's like, then your ego kicks in. It's like, why should I change the diapers now? But no, but I, thankfully, I said, I took it up. I said it great.
Yeah.
It took me a while to understand that's a very valuable thing to offer.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We really hope that you enjoyed the conversation. If you would like prayer or you want to share how this conversation has impacted you, please write to us on our email renewinghope@awakeningtogod.org. Conversations like these can make all the difference to someone going through a challenging time. If you would like to support us in making more content like this, please visit our website awakeningtogod.org or click the link in the description below. If you are struggling or going through a difficult season, please know that you are not alone and help is available. We've shared a few resources in the description box below. Reaching out is the first step. And make sure that you share this with someone else who might need it as well.